Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists for today's discussion. Each of them brings a wealth of experience and expertise in the field of entrepreneurship, innovation, and business development.
Our first panelist is Mr. Pulkit, co-founder of Metalwork. Digitizing the supply chain of the iron and steel industry, he is an experienced head of procurement in mining and metals. He is skilled in marketing strategy, vendor management, and team building. With a PG diploma in general management from IIM Shillong, he is recognized in Forbes 30 Under 30 India and Asia and ET Inspiring Leader 2022. Let's welcome him to the stage with a huge round of applause. The co-creator of Co-Creator Ventures, based in Bengaluru. With over 8 years of experience, Mr. Suresh focuses on investing in pre-seed startups and has a track record of incubating category-creating businesses. His expertise spans across AR, mobile tech, education, food tech, and luxury, and he holds 10 plus patents in the US PTO. Let's welcome him to the stage with a huge round of applause.
Next, we introduce Ms. Juliane, the founder and CEO of my first Indian client, based in Berlin, Germany. With the mission to provide insight, network access, and personalized mentoring, they specialize in assisting businesses to secure their first Indian client and scale effectively. Prioritizing agile market exploration, their strategy guidance has enabled business to identify initial clients in less than 3 months. Please give a warm welcome to our next speakers. Next we have Ms. Suman Bose. She is an entrepreneur, board member, and investor, recognized as a LinkedIn Power Profile Indian CEO. Committed to global impact, he focuses on innovative solutions in healthcare, education, and agriculture. A perpetual learner and advocate for trust, Mr. Suman is dedicated to mentoring next generation leaders and driving sustainable growth. Let's welcome him with a huge round of applause. Our last panelist is Ms Devika, a recognized figure featured in Wall Street Journal, Boston Globe, and CNBC Awards, nominated by Business Today magazine as one of the India's most impactful businesswomen. She is the founder of NetIQ Consulting and co-founder of the U brand. With a passion for empathy and empowerment, Ms Devika has led a high-profile projects for companies like JP Morgan Chase, Staples, and John Hancock. Let's welcome her to the stage.
Round of applause, everyone.
Definitely, I'm very genderless, colorless, etc. But yeah, I mean that was the first. I think people usually in this part of the world consider Suman as a girl's name. Doesn't matter. But I said I'm a guy because I was getting introduced as a lady, which I'm unfortunately not. We have, as I said, we have a very distinguished panel. I'm not going to get into introducing them because they've already been introduced. What's important over here? And I guess that's really important for all of you is to get their perspective. And my role as a moderator today is to create a little bit of a tension, so that you get to hear all the kinds of views, and you get to get perspectives. Because at the end of the day, you will make up your own perspective. There is no one way. Right? And so we have somebody who will give you a perspective of entrepreneurship from Europe. We have an entrepreneur over here who has moved from a corporate to an entrepreneurial career and is on a fast growth. We have somebody who's been incubating, mentoring. We have another entrepreneur who has been an entrepreneur in the Americas and as well as in India now. And I'll start with me and my perspective over here in this journey. First of all, I must say that, and it's a bit of a provocation, that entrepreneurship is hard. It is very hard, but it's very exciting. And they are not mutually exclusive. What I mean by hard is it's everything that is not in the box. In the corporate, you make plans. You stick to the plans. You have resources. You have alignments. You have meetings to ensure that those alignments happen. And having spent about 30 years of my life with Fortune 50 companies, and I've only worked for the large companies, in countries across the world, that gets ingrained in you. You kind of take that as the way of building business. And it's very important that you build that way, because one of the things that we used to always talk about is expectations of the street. If you're a listed company, you have given your expectations to the street, you have given your earnings expectations to the street. So you have to meet up to those earnings expectations, you have to meet up to your corporate leverages, etc. I decided to be in my own journey. I can't say that I'm a startup, but in my own entrepreneurial journey, when I was turning 50, and just alluded to that, I decided to kind of self-retire and get into my own entrepreneurial journey. And I was 50. Maybe I was joking that maybe I should have left my corporate 10 years earlier, because I got too ingrained with large company way of doing things. But nevertheless, there are things that I've seen adding value to the entrepreneurial ecosystem that I've personally worked in. I can share that part of it in ways, but there are things that I forget to custom myself with an ever-changing, fast-footed part of the world. So with this as a prelude, let me jump straight over to Juliane. I would like her to give a very short description of what she's doing today, what she finds it exciting, what she also finds it, more importantly, frustrating. Very important, what you find frustrating, and what brings you into where you are today. Because we are all a result of set of actions and series of decisions that we took or we didn't take. So where is that has led you to where you are today in your life, in your career, in your stuff, and give a little bit of a perspective of you and your work.
Thanks, Suman. Where to start? I also have a bit of a corporate career. In the very beginning, worked for a large American firm for a couple of years. Before switching to the startup side, I was an employee with startups for a couple of years before I started supporting entrepreneurs, and as part of that journey, I came to India in 2016. I worked with T-Hub for 3 years, helping both Indian entrepreneurs to look abroad for opportunities, as well as help foreign entrepreneurs to kind of look at India. I went back to Germany in 2019 and started executing on funded programs by the government, both the German government as well as the EU government, to support entrepreneurs from both Germany and the EU to come to India, look at opportunities, understand how success in India could look like, talk to initial clients, etc. Now, as you may all know, government funding is not something that goes on forever. So I'm currently on a journey to build my own company, which is called My First Indian Client, which is keep advancing that mission of supporting entrepreneurs from around the world to understand India from a Western country perspective, bridging into Indian mindset, Indian ways of doing business, connecting with people here, with the ecosystem here, with potential clients and partners, etc. And we do that in a quite structured way. That's of course been tested for quite some years now, and there's been a lot of support on the Indian side as well. Suman has been one of the mentors that we've been working with to explain India to the Europeans. It's been a life-changing experience for me to engage with India. It opened my mind. I don't think I ever would have become an entrepreneur if not for my experience in India, and kind of despite the odds belief that so many people here have in starting something of their own. Frustrating. What is that?
Okay, we will tease you on that a little later.
Maybe we will take that as a cue and we'll jump into Pulkit. It's just that order that I'm following from the left to right. So Pulkit, you are developing, after a short stint with your corporate life, you've moved into an area which otherwise people would say is very undifferentiated. Metals, cement. How much of differentiation can you do? Although there are case studies which say you can differentiate every stuff, right? So if you're in this market of this intense competition, pressure, India, very undifferentiated market, and you decide to jump into entrepreneurship, before you explain your business, tell me what prompted you into that journey and how you made a method out of the madness.
So for me, the challenges were always known. Whether we are entering a commodity business, the margin profiles are very low. And the most important thing I'll point out that the metal industry is very capital intensive in nature. And to start a company without investing anything, and running a company bootstrap for almost a year. So the thing that prompted us was we needed to change the mindset of the people, of our peers, that this can be. If I remember correctly, I think if I had 24 every time a person said that this business will not be successful, so I would have been not doing a long time back itself. So we needed to change that mindset. Without investing money, also you can run highly capital intensive business. But we needed to understand the nitty-gritties of the business, and we planned it in a very strategic manner. We did our research. For me, the support of my partners, so I have two co-founders as well from the same college itself. So our research led us and prompted, as sir was saying, Naveen sir was saying, mentioning, that we need to take calculated risks. So we calculated all the risks that were involved, and we found out that yes, we can make a change. And that motivation was the thing that led us to build Metal.
Okay, so good segue for my next speaker. You say that I'm just caught on to the fact that you're co-founders which are from your college. And here you are, after your corporate and your entrepreneurial journey, and now mentoring entrepreneurs, which you've been focused with students. This frat stuff, as in I'm borrowing the American lingo, the frat, and the bonding and the bonhomie that happens in the college dorms, and especially in India, of eating extremely bad hostel food. But jokes apart, how has your journey been? And we'll start with your latest, which is, and then kind of push back.
Okay. First, I think, let me start with disagreeing what you said. Entrepreneurship is not hard, right? I don't agree with that. I don't want them to feel that it's hard. I think whatever you enjoy can never be hard, right? And if you don't enjoy, no point in becoming an entrepreneur. That's what I start with. What I'm trying to do is, this is what I believe in. I think students becoming innovators, I'm not even using the word entrepreneur. Students innovating is the best thing that could happen to them, to this country and the institutions. That's where my fundamental thesis lies. So to enable this, I have created a fund which invests in ideas staged by the students. If the students come to me with a deep innovation, not another Swiggy or not another marketplace, if they come to me with deep innovation, the kind of stuff that VC was talking, some amazing examples. Wherever we find such examples, that's where we go and invest money. But that's one part of the story. Then where were the ideas coming from? So we work with a lot of universities to help universities create interventions in terms of their curriculum and program to make students think deeper based on the inputs from the corporate. That's what I do, just to set the context. So we run a fund and we run a non-profit to make brightest of our youngsters become entrepreneurs. That's how I define my role as. Now, coming back to the way the students are, and I just want to take 2 minutes about the changed landscape in this country as far as students are concerned. You and me, right? So even though probably you are 2 years seniors to me, you and me, when we were studying, we never knew that a bill in the canteen can be split between the friends. Whoever has the money will go and pay, and we never used to keep the book. These youngsters, you can go and ask them, how many of you split your pizza bill here, youngsters? How many of you split your pizza bill when you go on this one? Don't lie. Right? Right? They go and split their bills based on the number of pizza slices they eat. Right? This is the culture. Right? So a girl and boy goes to cafe and they shamelessly split the bill. I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but that's how the culture is changed. The friendship that you are talking about. Today, in fact, most of the colleges, what I understand, because I work with a lot of colleges, most of the colleges that we go to, right, the friendship is not with your hostel mate, it will not be with your classmate, probably someone who shares the passion. So there is a tremendous cultural shift that has happened in India, and that's also reflected in the way they think. I think Indian students today are best positioned to think in terms of two dimensions. One is probably we have the best brains to think in terms of sustainability today. Right? Globally, there are a lot of, especially the Delhi, not more than Bangalore. I have a different theory for that. Delhi. One is sustainability, and the way they think about finances is much different from the way we used to think about finances. Right? So, and I can go on and on. The kind of problem, the kind of lifestyle that they are seeing is different. So India brings in a tremendous opportunity to innovate for the future, and our youngsters are pretty much there. And I strongly feel, right, it's a lot riskier to become an entrepreneur than to take a job. Right? This is what I believe in, and I can go on and on. It's a lot less riskier to become an entrepreneur than to take a corporate job. Of course, if you spend 25 years plus in corporate life like Suman has done, entrepreneurship seems tougher. Best thing for you to do is skip the corporate life, become entrepreneurs when you are in college. That's what I would suggest.
Okay. So that was a very good controversy that I managed to up, and I hope, and I'm going to push this a little bit later. But absolutely spot on. But I must say, when I say it's tough, it doesn't mean that it's bad. Because I can tell you on a personal note that I'm a long distance runner, and when I practice for running my full marathons, I hate it, but I do it. And it isn't that pain that you get your joy. So something that is hard necessarily is something that you will avoid. So with this, let me get into Devika. So Devika just flown in, fresh from the airport. Somebody said that entrepreneurs actually invent a lot when they don't have access to their phones, and planes is a great time, 2 hours of your flight from Calcutta that you had over here. And you know you're coming and going to speak at an entrepreneurship event. So before I don't want to get into what we do and so that will come later. But tell me, what was occupying your mind as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's going to come in an entrepreneurship event? Because I want to just get the quick thoughts of yours, and then I want to get into your, you've been an entrepreneur in the US, you've been an entrepreneur now over here, and you're kind of straddling the 2 continents. How do you reconcile the differences and something that's possible through the board?
Good afternoon. Yes, I am actually, I'll just get into the quick thoughts that I had. My main message to everyone is always be a solution seeker. That entrepreneurial mindset is pretty much a life skill, And I will reiterate what you said, that I don't think it's risky at all. Pursuing one's dream is never risky. I think, on the contrary, not doing it is probably riskier and regretting it at any point in life. So I would say that's first, that be a solution seeker. Don't do too much with problem toppers, but it's important to seek solutions. So I would talk about more the mindset, that was really one of the messages. And the second one is, speed is important in entrepreneurship, very important in entrepreneurship, because if you're interested in implementing something, just go ahead and do it, because you never know. You can become the next Bill Gates, the next Mark Zuckerberg. So given that, and what was the other thing that you wanted to?
Okay.
The quick thoughts that I
quick
wanted
thoughts,
to,
and
yeah.
maybe just a little bit more on your journey in the US. You actually became an entrepreneur first in the US.
Yes.
Then you became in India, and now you're starting to work. So can you talk a little bit about
Sure. So I actually left the country when I was 17 and completed my bachelor's in the US. While at that time I started a consulting company, and while consulting, I've been an avid day spa goer, pampering myself. And then one of the key things that I thought that given the crazy schedule that I had, being a consultant, I wasn't able to, travel to spas. So the concept that it was first at that time in the US, was Day Spa to Go. So we create the ambience and all of the services of a day spa at the client's location, and that's when it also started becoming a corporate thing. PricewaterhouseCoopers actually gave us a break with converting all their conference rooms to day spas during their tax season. So that was my start of an entrepreneurial journey. It was beautiful because the journey is what I was enjoying, because I didn't know. It was a new country, knew everything. The learning process is what I was enjoying. And after that, flying back to India, one of the key things that I thought was a lack was the lack of entrepreneurial mindset. So we started Youngpreneurs, which was an academy to instill entrepreneurial mindset in teenagers. So that was one of the programs that we had worked on. So shuffling back and forth between US and India. So that was my journey.
So
it's on.
So I think we've got a stage set. We have people who've taken their positions. So let me now throw a few topics for them to talk about. When you think about today's startup, and as somebody said, when we graduated, it was doing business. There's no concept called startup. You have to do a business. Now, today, when you think about a startup, you think about a few things. You think about tech. You think about, because everybody thinks everything is technology. Good, bad, I don't know. I'm going to let the speakers take positions and then you kind of go around. But I'm going to use my moderating powers to just give them the topic to talk about. Then I'm going to think about profit. Especially more, and I'm not talking about valuation, I'm talking about profit. Especially more because suddenly we realize that there is a funding winter and people are saying, oh, by the way, you make profits. Gone are the days when you made crazy valuations on back of crazy losses. So I'm going to talk about profit, not valuation. But I'm going to still talk about valuation in a different way. We're going to talk about fund. Because without fund is the lifeline. Money is the lifeline of running a business. So we'll talk about fund. And we will talk about brand. Brand of the product, brand of the people, brand what you're doing, that excitement, that exhilaration of being an entrepreneur. Are you enjoying it? That's all part of doing and creating a brand. So I'm going to give tech to you. Yeah, you're going to say something and I'm going to ask somebody to counter, even oppose you, just to have a fun of this conversation. But I'm going to give tech to you. I'm going to give profit to you because you're in a very undifferentiated, strain-heavy, cost-heavy industry. I'm going to give fun to you, and I'm going to give brand. And I'm going to start back in this way. So start with the brand.
Can you just talk about branding?
Yeah, start about brand. How, why, what to do, what not to do, especially as an entrepreneur and you're frugal-minded.
You know, so far I've always bootstrapped, and I've encouraged bootstrapping as well. So one of the key aspects of branding is how do you stand out in this competitive landscape of things. So it's important to craft a story. Whatever your story is, there's nothing that beats authenticity. You know, at certain times, people think that, you know, why don't I craft my story like X person or like X company? No. Craft your story. Be vulnerable. Falter in front of people, and that's okay. That's human. That's authentic. And that is where your brand will actually stick out in front of everyone, and people will actually understand that that is your story. People want an emotional connection with companies, with people, with everything. So that's how you create a brand, literally. It's as simple as that. But you know, right now we talk about branding being a very complicated thing. It's not. But then it is your story. I cannot reiterate this enough, that how being authentic these days, especially in the age of, you know, buying followers, likes, copycats, etc., that being you, being authentic is the way to go, and that's it. That's all about branding.
Okay. Allow your time to talk about fund, about challenges, how do you measure, etc.
Okay. I think it's not fair to talk about funding without talking about tech and profit, but that's my advantage. I'll just jump in with those things, right? So you started saying that today's startup. In fact, yesterday in Guwahati, a person came in, right? So a person was building a boutique retails, and he started calling himself a startup. Nothing wrong, right? So one of the person came to me and said, "Sir, tell me how is he a startup and why I am not? I run a store, garment store, and he calls it a boutique, right? I probably make more margin, he makes lesser margin. He has a much better brand. Probably I am not interested there, right? Why is he a startup and why I am not? Right? This is a question that came to me from a very, very innocent question that came to me, right? So I think today, by startup, we talk about scale, right? And scale invariably comes from technology, right? It may not be technology itself being the business, but tech enabling the business is what gives you the scale, right? You have as an entrepreneur, you have a mindset to leverage technology in a better way. That's the only way you can get to a venture scale. Yeah. And B, profitability, right? So I'll connect this to the funding. See, all businesses need to make money at some point of time, right? But the question is, how much money you make, right? For example, someone like Ola, for years they didn't make, but the first year they made 100 crore on books, right? Or Facebook. For many years they didn't make money, but the day they decided to make money, they made $2 million. The first day net money that Facebook made, right? So it's a question of how much money you make, how much profits you make. It's not just the question of how quickly you make. And that's where funding comes in, right? Funding comes in if you can deepen your proposition, right? You build a lot more deeper technology before you go into the market, and you can really think like a disruptor, then funding is required, right? And if you want to buy a lot more time so that you get to some scale before you make a lot more money, then the funding will help, right? And funding will help you with the timing, right? If you think next 6 months I want to do a lot of things instead of scaling linearly what others can achieve over 10 years, I have a chance to achieve in 6 months, right? Then you need funding, right? So that's where the funding comes, right? And there is funding with, there are hardships, I mean all those things. I will not get into those questions unless there is someone specifically have a question. But this is what I say, right? So I told you where the funding will help, but many times you are better off. In fact, many companies that I know survived because they didn't raise the money or they didn't took a lot of funding, right? So as far as funding is concerned, it's your own decision. You need to understand what the funding can do to you. Can it do good things to you or can it harm you? In fact, yesterday I saw an amazing quote. Once you raise the funding, right, entrepreneur is the product, right? You are a financial instrument. You need to keep raising money, right? So you need to have clarity in terms of why you need funding, how much you need funding, and can you manage without this. If you can manage without funding to realize your option, all the good, right? Extremely good, and you are much safer. You will become a lot more stable entrepreneur. But if your business deserves funding and you are capable of raising money, then who knows, it could be the next unicorn, right? So just play accordingly and then do what is right for you and what's right for your business. But don't take a position saying that VCs are bad or VCs are angels. Both are wrong.
Okay, so good point he's taken, and he's right. I should have spoken to him after. We should have spoken to him after Tech and Profit. But nevertheless, we will challenge you with your thoughts too. Provocation is my name, right? I'm going to provoke you. So go to Profit.
So one of the points that Suresh sir made, that for every entrepreneur it is very clear that when they want to make a profit. For us, I'll give you my opinion and my views on it. So when we started Metal Book, for us three founders, it was very clear. And the one rule that we made was that no matter what transaction we do, we'll do it on a profit basis only. We will not do it at a 0-0 level, or will not be, using someone else's money in order to, increase our GMV or increase our transactions and build the company. So what helped us with this basic rule, and by what it helped us 6 years or 6 months or 9 months down the line, what we saw that we had already built our own bank accounts. The company bank accounts had to build without any VC money involved. So it gives you a very big boost. And as the funding winter was being discussed, so if you see last year, if you see the funding winter, so the companies who had these kind of rules imbibed, that they will purely be focusing towards profit, they did not face any funding winter. I would like to say that during that period itself, we were able to raise our Series A round, and that too at a higher valuation. So, profit, it is also necessary sometimes that you sacrifice profit, but that is in order to scale. Whenever you are going to scale, you will have to hire such kind of workforce that you are okay marginally making losses. But when it is time for you to convert and scale, you can obviously change it at any point of time. So yes, whenever you are planning to scale, you do have a few months where you make losses, but it is very clear, it is very important. Our aim should be profit only, and it should be pre-planned.
Problem and how to solve it. You need to really buy into it, and it's one of my first questions when I get to know new entrepreneurs is why have you chosen this problem? How do you relate to that problem? Why is it important to you? And why should it be important to others? And this is where the branding question or whatever was shared about branding, authenticity comes into the picture again, right? People want to hear why you care and why they should trust you with solving that problem.
Okay, so we will have possibly one more points and a very quick view because we're running on our time. I just saw the 40 minutes on the clock. Let me touch a point and then go back to them. So that's a very important point which I kind of reserve for myself, which is people. Whether you're running a big company, whether you're running a small company, it's all about people. Finding your co-founders, finding your top employees, etc. And just a few thoughts that I'm going to leave on the table is, we humans are amazing. We do difficult stuff because we enjoy the pain. We humans are amazing. You don't have to be a tech person to lead a tech organization. In fact, some of the best people that I've seen leading tech organizations didn't graduate as engineers. I remember long back, the leader for HP Labs was actually a person who was trained in music. And at that point of Community Labs was one of the largest labs outside of Park Xerox. So that's one. So number two is, and the second is, if you're in a position to lead, I'm going to just have one story which I'm going to share with you. This is an amazing story and I'm going to tell you who it is from, because otherwise, this idolatry stuff will happen. So this gentleman said that the biggest task of you as a manager is that, first of all, understand, manager or leader, whatever you can put the word, but first of all, understand that with every day, your domain knowledge is actually decreasing. And somebody else who's a more recent graduate, who's more just out of the fresh, younger, is possibly far more knowledgeable on that particular domain. No matter who you are, you may have as much PhDs as you want, or as many PhDs as you want, but you are on a sliding curve. But what you're gaining while you're sliding down, hopefully, is your experience. And that experience is to find people who are better than you and get them on your team. So the only task as a leader, if there is one task as a leader, it is to find people who are better than you, motivate them, sell to them, cajole them, beg with them to be a part of your team. And this kind of has been my mantra of leadership, and this has worked across. I've personally worked in about 16 odd countries, irrespective of the country. This has worked. That if you get the best people on your team, you will see amazing results. And they need not come in with the domain, they need not come in with experience. This typical cycle of, do you have the experience, do you have the degree, etc., etc. Literally speaking, doesn't work. But then you have to have that confidence in yourself, in you will find the team, find the right people, make some mistakes, quickly cut off your losses if you're making a loss in terms of the selection, hiring, but still not lose the faith. And last but not the least, the same person says that the job of a leader, if you do not have time to interview, actually sit in the interview with the CEO of the company, if you don't have time to interview, not just your next level, but your level below that, then you are in the wrong job. Please resign. The name of this gentleman is Juliane, and this was his last public function that he did at Jamshedpur. That was the last travel to Jamshedpur. He had come to inaugurate the Rusi Modi Center of Management Excellence, and this is when Rusi Modi was just so-called laid off from the Tatas. And somebody asked him a question about Rusi Modi. It was getting a little controversial. The Tata PR wanted to stop that question, but he stopped him. And he said, we are fortunate to have a leader like Rusi leading us through a epoch. It's a different matter that at some point of time, the company and the person will diverge. But it doesn't take away the leadership of Rusi in setting up what he has done for Tatas. I think this kind of spelled the charisma of a leader, a very humble servant leadership. And that's a topic by itself. I thought I'm going to point it over here because many of you who are in the journey today, while this seems very mundane, but coming from where I'm today, I think if everything is equal, or even unequal, I will always vote for a team which works well, which has the right set of people, the right set of attitude, and then everything else can happen. Now with this, I have a few questions to poke, and then that's kind of the end of the session over here. So to you, back on, you said fund cannot go without valuation, etc. How do you value? I don't want to give a pedagogical answer. How do you value a company which is all but a promise and which may not have profits on its books? How do you value?
I think there are many forces that drive the valuation. Right? So one is, what is with the money that I'm going to get, right? Where will I get it? That's the way we value the company, right? So with the money that we are able to give it, right? Will you get it DCA, or will you get it product trading mode, etc. Right? Which is slightly technical answer, right? So as VCs, we have some number game and we have some technical answer. That's what we say. But there is another question which is slightly more country. That's the right answer to give. When we look at the business, right? Most of the time, we know where this business can get into. I can't say most of the time. We assume that we know most of the time, right? So we know where the business can get into, how that valuable this business could be, and to get to there, how much money this company would require, right? And if this is the money that is required, how many rounds are required, and what is that entrepreneur should have at the end of the day. Right? If a company can go and get an exit at $100 million, and at that time, entrepreneur has 30-35% of gain, right? Or if there are group of people putting together, they have 50%, then it's a fair thing for the entrepreneur to do, and that's how even VCs can get the returns, right? So that's how we value the company most of the time. It's uncertain because it's entrepreneur needs to be motivated. That's the first thing that all the reasonably good VCs should understand. Unless entrepreneur is motivated, there is no returns for any of the VCs, right? That's how we value, right? And the essential part of it is the team that you mentioned, right? So, is this entrepreneur and his team members will be able to get returns? Will they be motivated to build this as a great business? Because idea has come to us. Only thing that differentiates him and us is he has the capability and bandwidth to execute, which we don't have. So all that matters is him and his team. Will they be motivated to run this company for a longer term by giving the equity that we think will get us the returns? Right? That's how we manage.
Very quickly, I'm going to flip to you. You recently raised capital. You were on the other side of the table. Okay? Here was this bad world of this venture capitalist who was trying to grab your company. I'm exaggerating. But
They are not bad.
no, I know that. I'm exaggerating. Okay, he was the bad guy who was trying to keep his company and he was not giving you.
No, it is we like him.
Oh,
You
lovely.
don't their picture between entrepreneurs and VCs.
Okay, I'm still provoking you. You just like the VCs are shopping for investees, you're shopping for venture capitalists. Who do you take money from and why do you take money from somebody and not take money from somebody else? If you have a choice.
My answer can be a bit controversial, but it is totally valid. So for me, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, I have a particular vision. I know where I want to go, where I want to take the company to. And I was 99.99% sure that the same vision cannot be seen by the other person that is sitting on the other side of the table. So for me, it was very clear that any person who believes in me. So basically, if you talk to various investors, so they will say, okay, we'll help you with the other rounds, or we'll help you with the connects, etc. It's okay. So connects and networking you can do at any point of time, anywhere in the market if you have made a name for yourself. It doesn't need any particular investor. So for me, it was very clear, any investor, any person who helps me or who gives me money to achieve that aim is my investor. Because once I reach that aim, I'll be able to connect with others and subsequently the story follows and other rounds will happen. So for me, it was not that I was eyeing a particular investor that they will help me in a company in such a manner. For me, at a seed round, that was clear. But coming to other rounds, so it becomes very, when the company has scaled from 0 to 1, but now it is time to go from 1 to 100. What you need to realize as an entrepreneur that you do not know everything. The margin of errors at a smaller scale are very low. It doesn't have that kind of implication. And I will come to the point that Suman sir made in the beginning, that the journey of an entrepreneur is hard. And Suresh sir said that it is not hard. I'll say the answer is in between. For an entrepreneur, the journey is not hard because they have a particular vision, they are very excited, they will work towards that. But the hard factor comes in when the company has scaled. Now the entrepreneur is not alone. He has a team, he has their family involved. Any particular decision that is taken wrong can not just affect you, can affect their lives and many other data attached to it. So for an entrepreneur, it is in between. It is hard, it is not hard as well. So coming back to the point, in case when you are scaling from 1 to 100, you will obviously want an investor who can guide you, who can basically give you a warning saying that this is the direction that you should not go through, because they have seen and they basically have more experience than me. So for me, the way I viewed the investors have changed from seed round to Series A. So going forward, I look at investors, those who will be helping me scale from 1 to 100 and warn me that these are the things that I should be aware about and can help me to get on a correct path.
I think it is great. And my last point would be trying to finish with summing it up all together with Juliane. Juliane, you have worked in the Indian entrepreneurship ecosystem. You use the word ecosystem today. You have worked now in the European Union side, whether it's a part of the government-funded program, not funded. Now you're directly involved as an entrepreneur to scale an entrepreneur and get them to the market. I'm sure there are tons of things that are different, but there are tons of things that are possibly all similar. I kind of want you to do a little bit of a comparative because, again, for an entrepreneur, I believe the world is the market. And they need to understand the cultural nuances of what takes, what doesn't take, etc. So come from your perspective of these two ecosystems, how is it similar, how is it dissimilar, and what are your thoughts for people in this room who are considering or already in their journey? What are your thoughts about it?
Similarities. I think the entrepreneur's mindset to even become an entrepreneur, I think is what's most similar. A bit of craziness, I guess, because you need to be a bit full of yourself to ignore all the hard things, to ignore the judgment that comes with it from family, from people who don't think it's possible. So you need to be able to shut that noise off. And you need to be able to think bigger than most people around you. I think those are the more similar things. Differences come in the particulars, I would say. Like, that's when you come into execution. What do people excel on in different geographies? What kind of skill sets do they bring to the table? And that can be being very frugal on the Indian side, for example, doing big things with very little resources. That I don't think is a strength of, let's say, German entrepreneurs. The amount of planning that you may do is also very different. If you have European entrepreneurs and even venture capitalists, they may expect you to have a much more stringent plan laid out. And you may have that self-expectation towards yourself as a founder as well. Whereas in India, overall, people are a lot more comfortable with not having as fixed plans and just deal with whatever comes up in a day and focus attention there. I think another similarity is the prowess in engineering that you can find on both sides, on different levels and in different ways also, because the academic ecosystem is slightly different, but then people can work themselves very deep into problems and solve them. Being open to doing business internationally, I would say, comes much more early in India. People have the international market on their mind a lot earlier than if I speak to a French or German entrepreneur. They are very fixed on solving probably a problem that they understand from their own context, and then see much later how that may apply in other geographies. Whereas I find many more Indian entrepreneurs who start businesses from India to serve the world from day one, or specifically the American markets. I think these are some of them. Can elaborate on some of those thoughts if you want to.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize. It was a lovely conversation. I'm so engrossed in the conversation I can go on for long, but we will stop over here. But let me kind of, without doing a formal summary, let me summarize, I think, what we have heard. And I'll give my 2 cents to it. What prompted, and to start with the 2 cents, I'll speak about what prompted me to do your entrepreneur. I think, and I think I can generalize and talk on behalf of all of us today in this room. I think at some point of time, in the back of your mind, you keep asking this question: is this life all about what I'm doing? Is there something different? Is there something that I missed out? Are there regrets to have if I don't do this, etc., etc.? And it bugs you at different points of time in the life, and then finally it makes you take an entrepreneurial decision. Some of them just stay with that thought, never makes the move. Some of them make the move. So there's no right or wrong at any time. Number two is, we heard about how technology is an enabler. Don't build technology on the sake of just, unless your technology is so different that is the problem. But then also at some point of time, stop building it out. I know of a company which was, as a part of my corporate life, we had funded a lot of money, unbelievable amount of money. But the two innovators, they couldn't decide on when to stop building the technology and start building the product. They ran the company aground into a bankruptcy because they were making that product from 97% accurate to 98% to 99.99. And for each of this percent fraction point, they were literally burning $1 million. And we had that syndrome of being, the prisoner syndrome, because we have raised so much of capital into it. Okay, this guy's in another $50 million. Let's write a check and maybe hold them to hands on the fire. And that's a bad habit. So as an investor, I want to be very clear. This is a very bad habit. The guy, you think really, you trust the guy, you think he's a great guy, give him another little bit of money. So holding somebody to a plan is, I have learned that in the US, in Europe, and I think it works to discipline. It works to ensure that there is a right set of communication. There are no hoodwinks under the table on the communication, and we have seen of late recently a lot of so-called celebrated entrepreneurs have come under the radar because their communication was not true, and that has deeper impact on the market, on the whole ecosystem. We have also heard how as a venture capitalist or how as a co-builder of organizations, somebody with the fund, but not with the idea, looks at and believes in funding a set of people at a certain set of value or not funding. And we obviously heard Devika talking about brand and how it is important to be authentic. The definition that in my mind comes is somebody wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and asks the question. You don't have to think about it. You just have an answer, because that's you. That's the authentic part of you. Otherwise, you'll have to think. You'll have to write it out somewhere. This was my story. This is what my PR asked me to do and not do, etc. The company goes large. You have to say, there are market disclosure norms, etc. But as an entrepreneur, you have to tell your story. And you have to tell your story in the most authentic way, because that one person, there'll be 99 guys who won't believe your story. But that one guy who will believe your story can become your mentor, can become your investor, can become your customer. And that's all what you need. You need to move that needle from 0 to 1. And then the 1 to 100 will happen. If they haven't moved the needle from 0 to 1, the 1 to 100 will never happen. With this, we would like to call an end to this. It was a lovely, I enjoyed it. I don't know whether you enjoyed it. I loved it. Loved the session. If you have liked all of them, can you please give them a round of applause?
Thank you so much, sir. Now I will request Dr. N.K. Sharma and Dr. Yogesh Mishra to come on the dais and felicitate our panelists. Thank you so much, everyone. It was really informative panel discussion.